So without further ado, I think I'm just gonna give the floor to Pernille, who is our colleague from University of Copenhagen, and will talk to us about making schools, making families dynamics in the process of gentrification. Pernille, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Vlad. Yes, University of Copenhagen. I'm teaching normally in developmental psychology and community psychology. And in that respect, possibilities is precisely generating novelty. So, of course, I'm thrilled with your network, the conference, and thank you for inviting me. I will talk today about a piece of empirical research we've conducted here in Copenhagen. I did that together with my colleague and friend, Christian Lima, who's not at the university, but he's working in a private company. And what we see as possibilities and what I would like to address is intense relationship between schools and families in making them attractive, like not only making schools attractive, but also making families attractive. And the cases that I'm building on are quite radical in the sense that they happen where schools, public schools, were abandoned by parents. And that put the power between schools and families sort of in a new perspective, because the school is sort of a push to collaborate more with the families in order to achieve the goals that could help them re-enroll children in the schools. Now, normally, when you look at the qualities of schools, you do it from a sort of standardized measurement, that compare the schools with other schools. And in fact, also a bit of the same with families. When you measure family quality, you also compare them with other families and their qualities. But what we is trying to highlight is that the quality is made in the interrelationship between the schools, the families, and the communities. And in this case, we could see it quite clearly. Well, the thing was that Christian was working in areas of Copenhagen that were formerly inhabited by working class people and migrants. And in those areas, new groups of people settled down. And those were classical white middle class families who liked the urban living, who liked the multicultural idea, maybe sort of a little bit of bohemian life fashion, and couldn't afford to live elsewhere. Also, Copenhagen is expensive. So they wanted to create attractive schools in areas that were not that familiar to them. And this is a process of gentrification, and it's known all over the world, and it also happens here. And normally you think that gentrification has this kind of positive spillover to the poorer areas, but that is debated highly. Well, the thing is that gentrification, or this multicultural bohemian lifestyle, seems to stop at the school gate. And that's also a global trend. Like when it comes to school, the parents choose different. Then they choose schools that matches their own social class and their own aspiration. And in that way, the school becomes sort of an epicenter of new segregation, because families doesn't have a lot of time. So who do they mingle with? And also with children, do they have parallel friendship, one in the neighborhood and one with the school, or do they simply go with the ones in the school? So the segregation that happens in the school tends to echo in the local environment. And that was what happened here. Now the schools here, they try to make themselves ready for these new inhabitants. They renovated the buildings, they worked on the education, on evidence-based teaching. So all that matches the standardized measurement was sort of up to date, and still the parents didn't want them. So that was where we started. We did ethnographic studies of the areas, tried to talk to central people in the church, in the sports facilities, in the culture houses and so on, to figure out what was going on. Then we interviewed school staff, headmaster, parents, and children about the school. And most often it became very often very evident that the parents and the children didn't talk that much with the school. They talked about the school. They developed rumors about the school. So what we did was sort of two kinds of analysis. An identity analysis of the school, where we tried to figure out what is important to you, what is your pride, what matters to you, where's your aspiration. And then we did what we call an image analysis, like how do people look at you? And the thing is that the school successively gets poorer when pupils are abandoning. First of all, it's the strongest pupils that leave, so the national measurement of the school gets low. Moreover, they only get full budget when they're full classes. So having a bad rumor also makes them a poor school. So, and that adds on to the movement. And within a month or two, you can empty a school that way. It goes extremely fast. So what we tried here was to put them together and dialogue together about making attractive schools that could make families attractive families. And what the families said across these cases is that they wanted, what they said was a proper Danish school, which is not a sort of, it's a bit loose. But a proper Danish school refers to not only high standards in teaching and good classroom management, but it also refers to traditions that are held in Danish way. Morning song, we sing in the morning. Black knows probably that, but we tend to sing in the morning when we meet. That kind of particular traditions that are sort of real Danish. And they worked together, and we tried to facilitate that they came to some kind of solution. And I'd like to mention two here. One was what they call play arrangement. This is where parents pick up other children than their own when they leave school. And this is parents who manage and arrange this, but school has to authorize it. You cannot pick another family's child up and leave with it. So they have every day to do this flexible work with picking who has allowance to pick up whom and so on. So it's a bit of a work for a school who's already working hard to survive. Children are playing together. So they're making the cultivation of the area. Children are also taken to new areas of the community to see new playgrounds, new backyards, and they are also dining sometimes at families' dinner table. Parents are picking up the children, so they talk. And moreover, which I believe is very important, the middle class families are very career oriented, and having the chance to get away from the schedule of time that the children have gives them an opportunity from time to time to work late, to gather and join social arrangement. Career is part of making an attractive family for those families. So it was sort of a lot of aspects that would benefit from play arrangement. The other thing that they invented was pre-teens guided tour into the community. Now, some schools, the attractive ones, have already tried to make pathways into the community for the pre-teens. The one that were left have not. And this is about, again, joining the family in making attractive schools, but beyond the school walls. So the families knew that teenage time were coming, and they were concerned. But they liked the urban life and lifestyle, the thrill of it. They've been there themselves, but they were still concerned, and they were in a new environment. So what they would like was a bit more pathways into area, a bit more secured visiting the community. And that makes good sense, because we know when children feel that they belong and feel at home, they do less risky business. So it's wise enough. But it put the schools at work. They had to find the smartest chess club, or the hippest dance school, or the best music club, or something to relate to combine with, to invite into their rooms after schools had closed, to join with teachers that matches music or sport. And it was a bit more like where play arrangements were sort of quite clear. These activities should preferably match the values of the family. It should be not only children should like them, but also families said, well, we are a music family. We would prefer music activities, or sport, or whatever. So the school had to use the values of the families as compass for organizing connections with the community. And that was not always easy, because these areas were already, you could say, in terms of social capital, not very rich. But they worked and they managed, and this pupils were re-enrolled in the schools. And they're not done with this. It's an ongoing process. But what we can see here is that the school budget improved, the national standards improved because of these processes. But in fact, to understand how these measurement improves, we have to go completely different ways. It has nothing to do with educational quality in itself. It has to do with collaboration with the schools and the family in neighborhoods and communities. And here we see an enormous developmental potential and possibility for creating more locally sustainable school. But it's very hard for the schools. It's time consuming and demanding. And it also pushes the general understanding that school has the authority or upper hand in deciding how to collaborate. But still, we believe that if the school could be a little bit more open to how the families want to create themselves as families, and here I mean not only the gentry families, of course, but also the working class families, the migrant families, if they would take part in that work in local community, especially in those that are not that rich, I believe we could achieve much in respect to producing more sustainable communities. Well, thank you for your attention.